AITA for telling my coworker her boyfriend of 3 years is actually my husband? The first day back from vacation always has a strange feel to it. The air in the Chicago design office smells of freshly brewed coffee, and the dust from computers that have been silent for too long. I arrive late, my mind still half on a beach in Miami, where Michael and I spent New Year's Eve. He said he had to come back early for work. There is always work. Happy New Year, Kate. Brooke from the next desk greets me with a wide smile. She is wearing a new red dress. She looks euphoric. Happy New Year, Brooke. Good vacation. I set down my bag. I turn on my monitor. The hum of the laptop joins the low murmur of the office. Incredible, truly incredible. This is going to be my year, I know it. Oh yeah? Any secret projects? I ask without much interest, glancing at some sketches. More than a project, a life. Look. She swivels in her chair and points to a silver frame on her desk. One that was not there before the holidays. My polite smile freezes before it can even form. All the air rushes out of my body. In the photo, under the blinding sun of what looks like a marina in the Florida Keys, is Michael. My Michael. His arm is around Brooke's shoulders. She, with her back to the camera, turns her head to kiss his cheek. He is smiling. That calm, half-joking smile I thought he only gave to me. He is wearing the blue shirt I gave him last summer. A violent, muffled beat pounds in my ears. Boom boom. It is the sound of my world cracking apart. It is a beautiful picture, I say. My voice sounds flat, distant, as if it is coming from another office. It is it not? It is from the Florida Keys. 2 summers ago. That is when I knew he was the one, the man of my life. I swallow hard. My mouth is as dry as cotton. And who is he? I ask, the smile still on my face. It feels plastered to my lips, fake plastic like a clown's. Brooke lights up. Her eyes, green and bright, fill with that possessive pride I recognize all too well. Because it is the same one I feel. He is my boyfriend. We have been together for 3 years. Well, 3 years in April. She takes a dramatic pause, lowering her voice as if sharing the world's biggest secret. And we have a plan. We are getting married this year. We are planning it all. 3 years. April. Getting married. Each word is a nail, hammered one after another into my skull. 3 years. Brooke started working here 2.5 years ago. I remembered her arrival. Young, ambitious, with that easy laugh. Michael. I started noticing the unexpected work trips, the calls he would cut short about 3 years ago. He said it was the pressure of a new project. I believed him. I always believed him. In April. How lovely, I murmur. My fingers, hidden under the desk, clutch the fabric of my skirt. They are shaking. I have to grip them tightly to keep them still. And what is your lucky guy's name? Mike, she says softly, affectionately. His name is Michael. Mike. No one calls him Mike. He hates being called Mike. He once told me, only my grandmother called me that and I did not like it. But he lets her. He allows it for her. Michael, I repeat as if tasting a poison. A name with character. What does he do? He is an architect. He works a lot, honestly. Lots of overtime. She makes air quotes and winks, as if sharing an intimate joke. But he always makes time for me. He is incredibly thoughtful. See this necklace? She touches a small pendant, a silver sailboat. He gave it to me for our 2nd anniversary, because he loves to sail. He goes out on Lake Michigan every weekend he can. Michael hates the water. He hates water sports. He says he gets seasick. Every weekend he left, he said he was going to play tennis with his work buddies. Tennis, honey. On solid ground. How romantic, I say. My jaw aches from forcing the smile. He is the best man I have ever met. I have never been so sure of anything. Her gaze gets lost in the tender photo. Then it returns to me. Hey, what about you? Your husband? Do you two have any special plans for this year? The question is a punch to the gut. My husband. Her fiancé. No, nothing special. The usual, I reply, looking away toward my screen. The pixels dance and blur. Work. Survive the winter in Chicago. She laughs, a clear laugh from a person whose world is still whole. Perfect. Well, if you want ideas for getaways, Michael and I know some great spots. He is an expert at finding charming little corners. Of course he is. Charming corners, discreet hotels, perfect excuses. Thanks, Brooke. Maybe later. Brooke's phone rings. She looks at the screen and her expression immediately turns sweet, private. It is him. Excuse me. She does not wait for an answer. She turns away, lowering her voice. Hi, my love. Yes, do not worry. I am already at the office. No, I have not forgotten. 9 at our spot. I miss you. Our spot. I stand up suddenly. My legs feel weak, but they hold me. I am going to get some coffee. I say to no one in particular. I walk down the hall. The fluorescent lights hum. The voices of my other colleagues, Lisa and Eric, discussing a budget, sound like they are underwater. I get to the bathroom, lock myself in a stall, lean against the door. My breath comes in short, whistling gasps I cannot control. 3 years. 3 whole years. While he slept beside me, while he told me he loved me, while we argued about loading the dishwasher, while we shared our life together. 3 years of lies, of a double life, of stolen moments that he was stealing from me. I take out my phone. My clumsy fingers find his contact, his profile picture, smiling. My husband. Brooke's fiancé. I dial his number, let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Kate. Hi, honey. Everything okay? His voice, the same one that told her, I miss you 5 minutes ago, sounds normal, warm as it always does. I open my mouth. The words were there, sharp as broken glass. Who is Brooke? What is our spot? 3 years. But they did not come out. Something else came out instead. Habit, foolishness, the fear of the ground completely disappearing from under my feet. Yes, everything is fine. I was just calling to say hi. To see how your morning was going. Oh good. The usual. Boring meetings. I will be a little late tonight, is that okay? I have to sort out some paperwork. Paperwork. Our spot at 9. Yeah, of course. No problem. A pause. I hear his breathing on the other end. The breathing of a stranger. I love you, Michael. I love you too, Kate. Talk to you later. He hangs up. I stare at the phone's black screen reflecting my pale face. My wide-open eyes look like they belong to someone else. I am not the same woman who walked into the office this morning. That woman was shattered to pieces against the photo in that silver frame. I leave the stall, wash my face. The water is cold. I look at myself in the mirror. Do not lose it. Not now, not here. I go back to my desk. Brooke has already hung up. She is typing with a foolish grin plastered on her face. On my screen, Michael's email from this morning is still open. Good morning, my love. Have a great first day back. See you tonight. Kiss. I look at the email. I look at the photo on the desk next to mine. My 2 parallel lives that he has been writing at the same time. And then deep inside me, where before there was only panic, something hardens. Cools like steel. I will not say anything. Not yet. I will not break this here in front of everyone so that Brooke and the rest can see me as the stupid wife, the last one to find out. No. But this is not going to be left like this. I pick up my phone, open the camera with a casual movement, as if checking a message. I focus on Brooke's desk. I take a picture. First of the frame, then a close-up. The image of Michael laughing with his arm around her. The evidence. My first piece of the truth. Brooke turns to me. Everything okay, Kate? You have gone pale. I look into her green eyes, full of a happiness being built on my pain. Yes, I say, and this time my smile feels different. Thinner. Sharper. The rest of the morning passed in a state of unreality. A dull hum filled my head, drowning out the office noise. I typed without seeing the screen. I answered emails with short, neutral sentences. My body was in my chair, but I was floating somewhere near the ceiling, observing that pale woman trying to act normal. Brooke was humming. A repetitive pop rhythm. Each note was a pinprick. Kate. Eric's voice made me blink. He was standing by my desk with a folder. Have you reviewed the renders for the Bristol project? I need them for the 11 o'clock meeting. Yes, of course. They are in the shared folder. My voice sounded hoarse. Are you okay? You look exhausted. The first day back. You know. I forced another smile. Eric nodded, unconvinced, and walked away. I felt his sideways glance. I had to pull myself together. I took a deep breath. The air smelled of burnt coffee and Brooke's sweet perfume. I took out my phone again. I swiped through the gallery. There it was. The photo. I zoomed in. Every pixel was a betrayal. Michael's shirt wrinkled by the wind, his hand on Brooke's shoulder, his relaxed, happy expression, a happiness I thought was reserved for our moments, not for this stolen postcard scene. I opened another folder, photos of him and me. I looked for one from 2 summers ago. In it, we were in New York. He was wearing the same shirt. He was smiling the same way, but with his eyes squinted against the sun. 2 summers ago, Florida Keys with her, New York with me. What excuse did he give for that trip? A course. A professional development course in Boston. He was gone for 4 days. I stayed in Chicago working. 3 years. Brooke said 3 years in April. I did some quick, feverish mental math. April 3 years ago. That month, Michael started with the out-of-town projects, the 1 or 2 day trips, the nights he came home late, smelling of wine and exhaustion. I was worried. You are working yourself to death. I would tell him. He would hug me. It is for us, honey, for our future. Our future. His double life. And Brooke arrived at the office 2.5 years ago. As a junior designer. I remembered her first day. Introductions. She was outgoing, fun. Michael asked me about my new team. I named a few people. There is a new girl, Brooke seems nice. He barely nodded, distracted. Brooke. I do not know anyone with that name. A lie. The first of thousands. Brooke's phone vibrated again on the table. A message. She glanced at it, and a shy, private smile appeared on her lips. She typed a quick reply with nimble thumbs. Then she left the phone face up. On the lock screen, another photo. The two of them, this time in a restaurant with their glasses raised. Laughing. My stomach twisted. That restaurant, the Waterfront Bistro. We had been there for our wedding anniversary. He said he had had a devil of a time getting a reservation, that it was a special, unique place. Our spot. But it was also their spot. His spot with her. I could not stay there. I could not keep watching her smile at messages from my husband. Her fiancé. I am going to get some air, I said, standing up. I did not look at Brooke. What is wrong, Kate? Are you feeling sick? Her voice sounded genuinely concerned. Just a headache. The stuffy air. I will be back in a bit. I rushed down the stairs, skipping the elevator. I needed to move, to feel the ground under my feet. I went out onto the street. The biting January cold in Chicago hit my face. It was a relief, a real tangible pain that anchored me. I walked aimlessly. The streets were full of people, couples holding hands, groups of friends laughing. A world that kept spinning indifferent, while mine shattered to pieces. When? How? Where did they meet? Was it before she worked here? Was it after? Was I the one being betrayed? No, we were the married ones. He wore my ring. He wears it. He was wearing it this morning when he left the house. Did he take it off to be with her? Or did he invent an excuse? My wedding ring is a memento from a past, complicated relationship. Something like that. Something dirty, something cowardly. I stopped in front of a jewelry store window. I saw my reflection. A 35-year-old woman with a good haircut, an expensive coat. The wife of a successful architect. The reliable colleague. The fool. The fool who saw nothing. I put my hand in my pocket. The phone felt as heavy as a brick. I had to do something. I could not go back up there and act like nothing had happened. I could not go home and wait for him to arrive smelling of his lies. I took out the phone, hesitated. Call my best friend, Megan? Tell her everything fall apart? But no, not yet. Megan is a whirlwind. She would want immediate action, confrontation. And what if she let something slip to someone? No, not yet. So what then? Investigate? Spy on my own husband? The idea disgusted me. It was something sorted from a bad movie. But the image of Michael's smile in that silver frame burned inside me. I needed to know. I needed proof. More proof, not just a stolen photo. I needed to understand the magnitude of the fraud. Of my life which had become a fraud. I returned to the office, calmer, or maybe colder. Brooke was at the photocopier. I sat down. I opened a private browser on the computer. My fingers flew over the keyboard. I searched for Michael Reynolds. His name. His professional achievements appeared, his company profile. Nothing useful. I thought. Social media. Brooke was active on Instagram. I did not follow her. It never interested me. I searched for her public profile. I swiped quickly through the photos. Trips, coffees, sunsets. And there, mixed in, were photos of him. Just details. A hand holding a glass, the back of a man in front of a sailboat, the silhouette of someone against a window at night. Never his face. Always a suggestion. A mystery. To the world, a discreet boyfriend. To her, a secret, passionate romance. To me, a mockery. And in the comments, her friends. Your man is so enigmatic. When do we get a full shot? That Mike is a ghost, ha ha ha. She would reply with blushing emojis. I saved the URL, took screenshots. Then, with my heart pounding in my throat, I searched on Facebook. Brooke had her profile locked to non-friends. But Michael barely used Facebook. He had a nearly empty profile, just a profile picture from years ago. Nothing. I looked at the time. 2 hours until we left. 2 hours sitting 3 feet away from the woman who shared my husband's life. 2 hours of acting. The afternoon was a slow torture. Every laugh from Brooke was a knife. Every time her phone rang, I held my breath. She answered another call, lowering her voice. Yes, honey, I have it written down. The white wine. I know. Do not worry. She hung up. She turned to me. Mike is a maniac about food. Tonight we are having dinner at some of his friend's house, and he has given me an endless list of things the host does not like. She shook her head, feigning annoyance, but her tone was pure pride. He is so thoughtful. Sometimes it is overwhelming. His friends. Who were they? Did I know them? Or was this another circle, another parallel life? How considerate, I murmured. He is. Sometimes I think I am a total airhead next to him. He has everything under control. Under control. Yes. His perfectly controlled double life. Finally, 6 o'clock arrived. I gathered my things with deliberate calm. Brooke put on her coat. Are you heading home, Kate? Or do you have plans with your husband? I looked her directly in the eye. For the first time all day. I searched for any trace of malice, of knowledge. Nothing. Just the naive happiness of a woman in love. She did not know. She was another victim. But in that moment I could only see her as the enemy. No plans tonight. He is working late. Poor guy. Well, see you tomorrow. Get some rest. I left the building. The night air was colder. I got in my car but did not start the engine. I just sat there, my hands on the steering wheel, staring at the windshield. Where was I going? Home. To our home. To wait for the man who was having dinner with his friends and his girlfriend, Brooke. To smell him, to search his clothes, his skin, for a trace of her. No. I could not. Not yet. I started the engine. I pulled out of the parking garage. Instead of turning toward our apartment in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, I turned the other way. I drove aimlessly down Lakeshore Drive, then through smaller streets. I passed by bars, restaurants. I looked at the couples through the windows, searching I did not know for what. Suddenly I saw it. The waterfront bistro. The dim lights, the discreet sign. I pulled over a little further down, double parked. My heart started pounding again. No, it could not be. He would not go there. Then through the large window I saw him. Michael. Sitting at a corner table, his back to me, but I would recognize him anywhere. His posture, the way he held his shoulders, leaning forward, talking. And across from him, laughing, her hand touching his arm, was Brooke. She was wearing the red dress from work. He was wearing the blue sport coat I gave him for Christmas. I saw them both. In our spot. As if it were their spot. A wave of heat, followed by an icy chill, ran through me. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. I wanted to get out, to open the restaurant door, to scream. I wanted to break something. But I did not move. I just watched them. He said something. She laughed, covering her mouth with her hand. He poured her more wine. An intimate, everyday gesture. A couple's gesture. That is what hurt the most. The normalcy. The comfort. It was not a furtive encounter. It was a dinner date. A date between a couple who know each other, who love each other, who have plans for the future. I looked away, took a deep, shuddering breath. The pain in my chest was physical, sharp. My eyes filled with tears of rage, of helplessness. No. I would not cry. Not for him. Not here. I put the car in gear, stepped on the gas. The car lurched forward. I kept driving aimlessly through the Chicago night. I passed through our neighborhood, down our street. I looked up at the windows of our apartment. Dark, empty. Our home. His lie. I could not go in there. Not now. I turned around and headed in the opposite direction, toward Megan's house. I was not going to tell her everything. Not yet. But I needed a place to spend the night. Place to think. A place to decide what the hell I was going to do. As I drove, a decision settled in me, cold and hard like the asphalt under the tires. I would not say anything. I would not blow this up yet. I was going to watch. I was going to listen. I was going to collect every piece of proof, every lie, every detail. I was going to know everything. And then when I had the whole complete truth in my hands, then I would decide what to do with it. And with them. I smiled without joy at the windshield. It was a new smile, a war smile. The smile of Kate, the wife, the one who no longer believed in fairy tales, the one who was going to unearth her own truth, stone by stone, even if it meant burying herself in the process. I spent the night on Megan's couch. I told her I had had a silly argument with Michael, that I needed some air. She looked at me suspiciously. I had never run away from home over a silly argument, but she did not press. She gave me a comforter and let me cry silently in the darkness of her living room. I did not cry for him. I cried for me, for the woman I had become. A spy in my own life. The next morning I returned home before dawn. The apartment smelled of silence and absence. Michael had not come back. I dropped my bag, took off yesterday's clothes and got in the shower. The hot water failed to thaw the cold I carried inside. When I got out, I found him in the kitchen making coffee, dressed in yesterday's wrinkled clothes. "Hey," he said without looking up from the coffee maker. His voice sounded hoarse, tired. "Hey." I leaned against the doorframe, wrapped in my robe. I watched his movements. The same as always. Had he done the same thing yesterday at Brooke's place? Or her apartment? "You got in late." "Yeah, sorry. The paperwork got complicated. Then I had dinner with the project team. I was exhausted. I fell asleep on the office couch." He rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture he always made when he was lying. I knew it in that moment, as if a red light had gone on in my head. The paperwork, the project team, empty words, codes for something else. For her. "The office couch must have been uncomfortable," I said, heading for the fridge. My voice was neutral, flat. "Pretty much. But better than waking you up at 3 in the morning." He finally turned around. He had dark circles under his eyes, but it did not look like work fatigue. He looked satisfied, relaxed, like after a good time. I got closer, searched for her perfume on his neck, on his clothes. He only smelled of coffee and himself. He had showered. "Where? And you? Did you sleep well?" "Not really." My head was spinning. It was a half-truth. I held his gaze. "How was dinner with the project team?" A shadow, quick as a fish, crossed his eyes. Insecurity, guilt. "Fine, fine. The usual. Boring. A lot of talk and few decisions." He took a sip of coffee. "Hey, I have to work late again today. Do not wait up for me for dinner." "Of course. Our spot yesterday, late again today. The lie machine was working at full capacity." "Do not worry." I took my cup. My hands were not shaking. I surprised myself. "I have a complicated day too. I might meet up with Megan." "Okay." He seemed relieved. That relief shot through me like barbed wire. He took a step and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. His lips were cold. "See you later. Take care." And he left. The door closed. The sound of the elevator descending. I stood motionless in the middle of the kitchen, the hot coffee cup between my hands, staring at the door my husband had just walked through to go live his other life. No, I was not going to stay there. I had a plan. An ugly, necessary plan. At the office, Brooke was already at her desk. She was wearing a soft, cream-colored sweater. She looked radiant, fresh, happy. "Good morning," she chirped. "Did you sort things out with your husband yesterday?" "Yeah, it was nothing. Hormones, I guess." I smiled, sitting down. "Hey, Brooke. I need to talk to you about the mood boards for the Bristol project. Are you free to talk during lunch? I will buy you a coffee. We can get out of here." Her eyes lit up. She loved being taken seriously, being included. "Sure, that works great for me." The rest of the morning was an exercise in extreme self-control. Every time Michael sent me a loving message, "How is your day going, beautiful?" my fingers wanted to type, "Better than yours, you liar." But I only replied with brief, cold emojis. At 2 we left. I took her to a place nearby, but not our usual spot. A more intimate one with separate tables where we could talk without being overheard. "Ah, break. This is nice," Brooke sighed, sitting down. "Sometimes the office overwhelms me. So what is up? Problems?" I asked, glancing at the menu without seeing it. "No, not at all. It is the excitement, I guess. With the wedding and everything. My head is somewhere else. There was my opening. Oh, right, the engagement. It is crazy, is it not? So many things to plan. I ordered a salad. She a pasta." My voice sounded light, curious. "Do you have a date yet?" "We want to do it in the fall, in September. Michael says it is his favorite month." She smiled dreamily. "But we have not seriously looked at venues yet. He is such a perfectionist. He wants everything to be special." September. His favorite month. It was. He always said it was the best month in Chicago. That we would celebrate our wedding anniversary in September. We celebrated it in June. Another lie. Another stolen detail. "And are you and Michael very different?" The name tasted like ash in my mouth. "In some things, yes. I am more impulsive. He is calmer, more cerebral. But we complement each other. You know?" She took a sip of water. "For example, he loves the water, sailing. I, on the other hand, am more of a city person. But I have learned to love it. It even makes me seasick, but I love seeing him so in his element. The water." Another lie uncovered. "He sounds very dedicated. With his work and everything, does he have time for planning?" "Ugh, he never stops. He is an architect, you know. He is on a huge project in the West Loop, but he always makes time. He calls me on every break. He sends me pictures of places he sees that he thinks I would like for the wedding." Her smile was sweet, trusting. "Sometimes he is a little mysterious with all his work trips, but I have never doubted him. He is a one-woman man, you know? A one-woman man." I had to look down, stab my fork into the lettuce so I would not laugh. Or scream. "He travels a lot?" "Quite a bit. Mostly to Miami and New York for some clients. Sometimes he stays a night or two. At first it bothered me a little, but I am used to it now. Besides, he always comes back with a little something. He is very thoughtful." The trips. Miami, the course trip from 2 summers ago. The weekend we spent working in New York last month. It all fit together with a horrible precision. "You are so lucky," I murmured. "A thoughtful man. Most of them are disasters. Like mine." I forced a laugh. "Sometimes he even forgets our anniversary." "No way. Michael never forgets anything. He has the memory of an elephant. And he is very traditional in some ways. For example, he hates it when I put onion in the food. He says the flavor takes over everything." She laughed as if it were an adorable quirk. I froze. Michael hated onion with a passion. It was one of his few food quirks. At home I never cooked with onion. Never. Brooke knew that. It was an intimate domestic detail. A detail they shared. My stomach twisted. The rage I felt in that moment was so physical, so sharp, that I had to grip my napkin tightly under the table. "How curious," I managed to say. "Yeah, I am telling you. But hey, you put up with anything for love, right?" She took a final bite of her pasta. "Hey, what about you and your husband? How do you get along? Have you been together long?" I looked at her. Her green eyes open, curious, innocent. She had no idea. To her, I was Kate, the coworker, the older woman. How many years older was I? 5, 6. With a routine marriage. Not a threat. Not the wife. 10 years, I said. And it was true. 10 years. Half of my adult life. And routine. Affection, but routine. 10 years. Wow, she exclaimed with genuine admiration. That is a lot of love. Or a lot of patience. She joked. Both, I replied, and I smiled. It was the bitterest smile of my life. The lunch ended. I paid the bill. On the way back to the office, Brooke chattered on about her plans, her dreams, about Mike. I nodded, I smiled, but inside I was calculating. Every piece of data, every detail, I stored it, filed it away. It was my weapon. That night, Michael came home at a reasonable hour. At 8. He smelled of clean soap, of hotel shampoo. Hey, he said, hanging up his jacket. He seemed tense. Hi. There is lasagna. From yesterday. Great. I am starving. He walked past me toward the kitchen. I followed him. While he ate in silence, I watched him. His hands, the same ones that caressed Brooke. His mouth, the one that told her, I love you. He used the same words, the same gestures. Hey, Michael, I said in a calm voice, cutting a piece of lasagna. I was talking to a coworker today. Brooke, you remember her? The new one from design. He froze. The fork halfway to his mouth. It was only a second, a microsecond, but I saw it. The tension in his shoulders. The quick blink. Brooke, the name sounds familiar. Is she the younger one, the one who always talks loud? That is her. She seems like a good person. She is very excited. She is getting married soon. Oh, that is nice. He looked down at his plate. He ate with determination, as if the lasagna required his full concentration. Congratulations to her from me. Yeah. She says her fiancé is also an architect. His name is Michael, just like you. I dropped the name. Like a stone in a pond. He choked. He coughed, drank some water. Really? What a coincidence. His voice sounded forced. Yes. She says he is very thoughtful. That he hates onion. I looked directly into his eyes. What a coincidence, right? You hate onion too. The silence that followed was thick, heavy as lead. Michael put down his fork. He looked at me. In his eyes there was a flash of something. Fear, a warning, calculation. Kate, what are you trying to say? He asked with a calmness that was too deliberate. Nothing. Just that it is a curious coincidence. An architect named Michael who hates onion. It is a small world. I shrugged as if it were nothing. I took a sip of wine. By the way, how did it go in the West Loop today? Did you make progress on the project? He turned pale. I read the confusion on his face. How did I know he was in the West Loop? He had not told me. Brooke had. She had dropped the fact at lunch without thinking. He is on a huge project in the West Loop. Yeah, fine. Slow but fine. His gaze scanned my face, looking for a trap, a reproach. He only found a neutral, slightly bored expression. How do you know? Know what? About the West Loop. Oh, you told me in a message yesterday. I lied without blinking. He frowned. He hesitated. He did not remember telling me. His castle of lies had too many doors, too many rooms. He no longer knew which story he had used for which entrance. Right. Yeah, of course, he muttered, returning to his food. But he was no longer hungry. He toyed with his meal. I finished my plate with a cold, metallic appetite that surprised me. The rage was giving me energy. Hey, I said, getting up to take the plates to the sink. That coworker Brooke said her boyfriend travels a lot to Miami and New York for work. Like you. Maybe you know each other from the industry. He jumped up. The chair scraped against the marble floor. No, the word came out too loud, too abrupt. He cleared his throat. I do not think so. I do not know anyone by that name, and my trips are with very specific clients. It is not a very large circle. Of course. It was just an idea. I smiled, turning on the tap. It would be funny, would it not? A colleague of yours dating my coworker. Such a small world. He did not answer. He gathered his things and mumbled something about having to review some plans in his study. He left the kitchen. I heard him in the living room turning on the television. A loud, empty sound. I stood at the sink, my hands in the hot, soapy water, and smiled. A small, cold smile that did not reach my eyes. I had planted the seed. The seed of doubt, of fear. Now he knew that I had heard Brooke's name, that I had made a connection by chance. He would be careful. He would get nervous. And nervous people make mistakes. And I would be there, waiting, watching, listening, collecting every mistake, every clumsy lie, every contradiction. The war had begun. And the first battle, small and silent, was mine. The Bristol project was a blessing and a curse. A blessing because it forced me to focus on something other than the black hole of my life. A curse because it forced me to spend hours in the same room as Brooke. And by extension with Natalie, her younger sister. Natalie was the polar opposite of Brooke. Where Brooke was sunshine, exuberance, and an unshakable faith in her perfect future, Natalie was the moon, more reserved, observant, with an ironic gaze that seemed to see beyond appearances. She worked as a community manager for a sustainable clothing brand and had been temporarily assigned to our team for the digital campaign. The first meeting was an ordeal. Brooke could not stop talking about her wedding colors. Cream or off-white? Off-white is warmer, but Mike says cream is more elegant. Every mention of his name, of his opinions, was a pinprick on my skin. Natalie, sitting next to me, discreetly rolled her eyes. "Sister, please," Natalie murmured when Brooke went to get more coffee. "The lovebirds have been arguing for weeks over a shade of white. It is enough to drive you crazy." "It is an important day," I said, forcing a neutral tone. "It is understandable she wants everything to be perfect." Natalie looked at me, a slight arch in her eyebrow. "Perfect is being loved, period. The rest is theater, and pretty expensive theater at that." She lowered her voice. "Between us, I do not know how she can afford it. On a junior designer's salary and an architect who, from what she says, works non-stop but is no big-name star." The comment hit me like a dart. An architect who was not a big-name star. Michael was a partner in his firm. He earned very well. Or did he? Or was that another lie? Or did he tell Brooke he earned less? "Well, love conquers all," I said blankly. "Love and a hefty loan," Natalie muttered, almost to herself. My senses went on high alert. "A loan? What?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Natalie hesitated, as if realizing she had said too much. She glanced toward the door where her sister had gone. "Nothing family stuff. It is just that Brooke is a bit naive with her heart. Mike asked her for money a few months ago, a cash infusion for his firm. He said he had a liquidity problem because a client had not paid him. The air was knocked out of my lungs. Michael asking his girlfriend for money? How much? Why? We did not have money problems. Our accounts were healthy. Or were they? Was this another lie within the lie, or was there a debt, a hole I did not know about? And she gave it to him? I asked, keeping my voice low and calm. $5,000. Her savings. What she was saving for, well, for the wedding, I guess. Natalie shook her head in disgust. My dad was furious. But you know how Brooke is. When she believes in someone, she does it blindly. She said Mike was a man of his word, that he would pay her back with interest as soon as he got paid for the project. $5,000 was not a fortune, but it was not a small amount. For a girl like Brooke, it must have been a lot. And why did Michael need it? Or was it just a way to tie her down more? To create a financial bond? Maybe he has problems he is not talking about, I suggested carefully. Freelancers and small businesses, you know. Maybe. Natalie did not seem convinced. Her gaze was clear, practical. But I do not have a good feeling about it. A man who is planning a wedding and asking his fiancée for loans, I do not know. And then there is all the mystery. Mystery? Yeah. He never comes to family dinners. He always has an excuse, a work trip, a last-minute meeting. My mom is starting to think he is hiding something or that he is married. She let out a dry laugh, but her eyes were studying me. I froze. Married. The word hung in the air between us, heavy, dangerous. I brought my coffee cup to my lips to have something to do. My hands were not shaking. I was surprised. Well, some men are shy around family, I said in a voice I hoped sounded normal. Shy is not the word. He is evasive. He is not even on social media. Can you believe it? He says it is for professional privacy. Natalie sighed. Look, I do not want to be the killjoy sister. Brooke is madly in love, and he, honestly, when he is with her, he seems devoted. He sends her flowers at the office, calls her constantly. But there is something that does not add up. Like a part of him is always somewhere else. Somewhere else. With me. In his house. Sleeping in our bed. Lying to both of us. Brooke returned with the coffees, overflowing with energy. I have had an idea for the centerpieces. The meeting resumed. I nodded. I took notes, but my mind was 1,000 miles away. Or rather, $5,000 away in my husband's pocket. That afternoon, instead of going home, I went to the library. I sat in front of a public computer with sweaty palms. I had to know. I needed to see our accounts. The joint accounts. I had never reviewed them with suspicion. We had always been transparent. Or so I thought. I accessed the online bank. My username, my password. Michael had his own, but the joint accounts appeared on both our screens. I checked the main checking account. Normal transactions, mortgage bills, our purchases. Nothing strange. Then the savings account. This is where my heart sank. There was an outgoing transfer of $7,000 3 months ago to an account whose holder I did not recognize. The description said, Payment for consulting services. Project May 22. I did not remember Michael mentioning any project May 22. And $7,000, not 5. Was this the loan plus interest? Or was it something else? My next stop was the online property records. A horrible idea was forming in my mind. I paid the fee with my card. I entered Michael's information. Took a few minutes. Then the screen showed the results. Our apartment in both our names. Nothing else. I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. At least there was that. He had not bought a love nest for his other life. But I needed more. I needed to know where that money was going. And I needed to know what liquidity problems he was talking about. The next day at the office, I looked for Natalie. I found her in the break room alone, looking at her phone. Hey Natalie, I said, filling my water cup. You got me thinking yesterday. The thing about the loan to your sister, I feel bad for her. It is a lot of money. She looked up. Her eyes, the same green as Brooke's but colder, assessed me. Yeah, it is. Especially since she is not rolling in it. And do you think he will pay her back? I asked, leaning against the counter. He says he will. As soon as the issue with a client is resolved. The same old client. She shrugged. But it has been months. Brooke does not pressure him, of course. She is embarrassed. But me, I am not so understanding. Have you thought about looking into him a little? Just in case. For your sister's sake. Natalie stared at me. A long, direct look that seemed to want to read my thoughts. Look into him? Like hire a detective. She seemed amused by the idea. I do not know, see if his firm is in trouble, or if that client even exists. Things like that. My pulse quickened. I was playing with fire, but I needed an ally. Or at least someone to ask questions from the other side. Honestly, Kate, your interest is a bit strange. Her tone was not hostile, but it was cautious. I bit my lip. I had to give an explanation. A good one. It is just, I lowered my voice as if confessing a secret. Years ago, a very close friend of mine went through something similar. She fell in love with a man who turned out to be, well, someone who was not honest. He took a lot of money from her and she was devastated. Not just because of the money but the humiliation. When you told me about Brooke, it brought back bad memories. I would not want her to go through the same thing. It was a lie, of course. But a believable lie, coated in feminine concern. Natalie nodded slowly. The story seemed to resonate. That is terrible about your friend. And yeah, sometimes I think similar things. But Brooke will not listen to me. She says I am distrustful, that I am bitter because of my breakup. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see things clearly, I said softly. If you want, I can take a discreet look. I have a lawyer friend. I could ask him how to verify if an architecture firm has any issues or anything. Natalie hesitated. The conflict was evident on her face. She wanted to protect her sister, but she did not want to meddle. Finally, she sighed. Look, Kate, I appreciate your concern. I really do. But I cannot. If Brooke found out I was snooping, she would be furious. She is very private about her relationship. Besides, she paused, searching for the words. Even if he is weird, she is happy. And for now it is just a loan. Nothing else has happened. I am just going to keep quiet and support her. She is my sister. I understood. There would be no ally. Not yet. Natalie, despite her suspicions, chose family loyalty. I could not blame her. You are right, I said with a sad smile. Sorry, sometimes I get carried away. It is just that I like you and your sister, and I would hate to see her get hurt. Thanks. Her expression softened. You are very kind. And hey, about your friend, I am really sorry she went through that. Thanks. She is better now. I moved away from the counter with the glass of water in my hand. Well, back to work. And do not say anything to Brooke, okay? I do not want her to think I am a meddler. Do not worry. Our conversation. I left the room with my heart pounding. I had not gained a collaborator, but I had obtained crucial information. The loan, the amount, the excuse about the client. And above all, confirmation that Michael was a mystery even to his fiancée's family. That gave me an advantage. I knew more than they did. I knew the truth. That night, Michael came home late again. He smelled of tobacco and cheap beer, not the expensive places he used to go with his clients. Work dinner, he said without me asking, hanging up his jacket. Everything okay? I asked from the couch without looking up from my book. Yeah. Long but productive. He came over and kissed the top of my head. He smelled of a different cologne, not his own. It was sweeter, cheaper. Brooks, maybe? And you? Good day. Fine. Working on the Bristol project with the Ellis sisters, Brooke and Natalie. Natalie, the younger sister, is really nice. More centered than Brooke. He froze, then went to the kitchen. I heard the sound of the fridge opening. Oh yeah. His voice came, distorted by the metal. Well, I am glad. I am going to take a shower. He ran up the stairs. Too fast. Like he was running away. I stayed on the couch, listening to the sound of the water running. The book in my hands was just a prop. I was not seeing the letters. I was only seeing numbers. $5,000. $7,000. A phantom client. An architecture firm with liquidity problems I knew nothing about. And then for the first time, fear mixed with the rage. A cold, calculating fear. What if it was not just an inappropriate relationship? What if Michael was in trouble, real money trouble? What if this double life was not just for pleasure but out of necessity? To maintain a facade, to pay off debts. The idea was even more repulsive. He had not just betrayed me for desire. He had used me, and now he was using Brooke to cover up a hole. The hole in his life. In our life. The water stopped running. I put the book down. I took a deep breath. The compassion I had felt for a moment for Brooke, another victim, younger, more gullible, solidified into something harder. She was a pawn. So was I. We were both pawns in his game. But I had stopped being a pawn. I was becoming a player. And even if Natalie did not want to play, she had given me a key piece. The loan. And now I was going to follow the money trail. Because money, unlike love, always leaves a trace. The sound of Michael's shower was a distant thunder. I was still on the couch, the book closed on my lap, my fingers tapping out the rhythm of a cold plan on its cover. The initial fear had transformed. It was no longer a sharp pain, but a cold, determined tingling at the base of my spine. A hunter's instinct. Money always leaves a trail, and I was going to follow that trail to the end. The next day at the office, I was an efficient shadow. I did my work. I talked to Brooke about colors and fonts, but my mind was elsewhere. On numbers, on transfers, on a project May 22 that did not exist. At lunchtime, I said I had an errand. I left and walked to a payphone far from the office. A relic in the age of cell phones, but anonymous. I dialed our bank's number, used my ID and passwords. When the operator asked for the phone number associated with the account, I gave mine. I passed the security checks. Then in a calm voice I asked, "Good morning. I would like information about a transfer made 3 months ago for $7,000 to an account ending in 3387. In the name of could you tell me the account holder, please? There was a click of keys on the other end. Yes, ma'am. That transfer was made to Brooke Ellis. The name sounded like a gunshot in the silence of the booth. Brooke. It was not just the loan. It was more. $2,000 more. Interest? Or payment for something else? My throat tightened. Thank you. And are there any other transactions to that same recipient? In the last 12 months there is another previous transfer of $5,000 5 months ago. Same description. Payment for consulting services. Project May 22. 5 and 7. $12,000. $12,000. Michael had given Brooke $12,000? Or had she lent them to him? Natalie's words echoed. Mike asked her for money. But this was the other way around. He was giving her money. Unless it was a repayment. A repayment with interest. But then why the excuse about the client not paying? Nothing added up. Unless everything, absolutely everything, was a lie wrapped in another lie. Thank you. That is all. I hung up. I leaned against the cold wall of the booth. The rage was boiling, but now with a new nuance. Confusion. What game was Michael playing? Was he a scoundrel who scammed his girlfriend? Or a man in trouble, taking money from our joint fund to plug holes? Or both? I needed more. I needed to see it. Not through stolen photos or other people's stories. I needed to see them. That night, Michael announced he would be having dinner out again. A reunion with old university classmates. I nodded with a tired smile. Do not worry, I will just have leftovers. Have fun. As soon as he left, I put on dark jeans and a hooded sweatshirt. Comfortable sneakers. I grabbed my phone, the small camera I use for work, and a crossbody bag. I went down to my car but did not start it. I waited. 10 minutes later, his BMW pulled out of the garage. I followed it, keeping a safe distance. He drove toward Wicker Park, not downtown. Not in the direction of the waterfront bistro. My heart pounded against the steering wheel. He drove through quiet streets with old, beautiful buildings, until he stopped in front of a well-maintained 1960s apartment block with small balconies. It was not a hotel. It was an apartment. He parked, got out, checked his phone, waited. 2 minutes later she appeared. Brooke was wearing a simple wool dress and boots. She ran down the entrance steps and threw herself into his arms. He wrapped his arms around her, buried his face in her neck. It was a long, intimate, domestic hug. Not the greeting of a date, but the reunion of someone coming home. Then he took out a keychain, opened the main door, and they went inside. Together. The light in the lobby came on, then went off. A window on the first floor lit up. One silhouette, then another. The curtains closed. I did not cry. I did not scream. I took a deep breath, the car engine still running. I took out the camera. I took photos of the entrance, the street number, the parked BMW, the lit window. They were cold, hard digital proof. I waited an hour. 2. In the window, shadows moved. Sometimes they laughed. A silhouette, his, passed back and forth as if making dinner. As if living. At 11 the light went out. They did not come out. They were staying there for the night. In their apartment. Their nest. My stomach was a fist of ice. The next day at the office, Brooke arrived radiant. She was wearing a new, expensive sweater. I recognized it. It was from a brand Michael liked. He had bought me a similar sweater in a different color for my birthday. Good morning, she chirped, setting down her bag. Lovely night, was it not? Yes. What did you do? I asked, typing without looking at her. Dinner at a friend's house. It was very relaxing. Her smile was secret, satisfied. At home. At their home. My opportunity came that same afternoon. Michael sent me a message. Honey, I left the tablet at home. Can you look for a file for me? It is urgent. It is in the cloud, in the Bristol project folder. The password is the usual one. The usual password. Our anniversary date. We used it for everything. A wave of cynicism so strong I almost choked. He used our date to hide his secrets. I said I was feeling unwell and left the office. I went home, our empty, silent home. I went up to his study. There was the tablet on his desk. I turned it on. I entered our password. I got in. I did not go to the Bristol project folder. I went straight to his cloud application, to his photo gallery. And there it was. A treasure trove of lies. Folders, many folders. Some with names of professional projects. Others with harmless names. Trips 2025. Renovations. Ideas. I opened Trips 2025. Photos of Miami, of New York, of the Florida Keys. Photos of the two of them embracing on the beach, laughing in a restaurant, on a sailboat. Him wearing that ridiculous hat I gave him that he claimed to have lost. Her wearing my necklace. The silver sailboat. My anniversary gift to him. Now hanging from her neck. Every photo was a stab. But there was more. Another folder. B. I opened it. Invoices. Scans. A rental agreement for the Wicker Park apartment in the name of Michael Reynolds, signed 2 years ago. Monthly payments from our joint account. I was paying for it. I was paying for my husband and his other life's nest. And documents. Bank statements from an account in Michael's name at another bank. An account I did not know about. Incoming transfers from Brooke. $5,000 5 months ago. Then outgoing transfers to a man, Anthony Hayes. Smaller amounts but constant. $500, $300, $800. The last one 2 weeks ago, $1,000. The description. Loan interest, month of October. I did not understand. Michael was taking money from Brooke, but then taking money out of another account to pay some guy named Anthony Hayes. Who was he? A loan shark? A debt? My mind, clouded by pain, tried to connect the dots. Michael owed money to this Anthony Hayes. He asked Brooke for money, supposedly for his firm. But then, instead of using that money for the firm, he used it to pay part of his debt to Anthony. And the rest, the money from our joint fund, he gave to Brooke. Maybe to keep up appearances, to pay the rent for her gifts. It was a circuit of lies and dirty money. A financial house of cards. And I and Brooke were the fools holding up the foundation. Shaking not from fear, but from a pure crystalline rage, I connected the tablet to my laptop. I copied everything. Every photo, every document, every invoice. I saved them to a USB drive and to an encrypted folder in the cloud. My cloud. Then I erased the tablet's history, turned it off, left it exactly where it was. I sat in his chair, the chair from which he planned his double life, and I breathed. Now I had everything. The proof of the relationship, the proof of the nest, the proof of the financial lies. I could go to a lawyer. I could destroy him. I could expose him. But no. It was not enough. Not yet. He had to fall further. He had to lose everything. Me, her, his facade, his money. Everything. And then a cruel, beautiful, just idea occurred to me. I opened my computer. I created a new, anonymous email account. A bland, untraceable address. Then I selected just a few photos. Not the most explicit ones, not the ones of them hugging. I chose two. One, the invoice for the rent on the Wicker Park apartment in Michael's name. The other, a statement from the secret account with the transfers from Brooke to Michael, and from Michael to Anthony Hayes. I blacked out the account numbers but left the names, the amounts, the dates. I wrote a brief, anonymous, cold message. To brooke.ellis@work.com. Subject. Information about Michael Reynolds. Dear Brooke, we believe you have the right to know the truth about the person with whom you are planning your future. Michael Reynolds has been renting an apartment at 22 North Avenue for over 2 years. You will find the contract attached. Furthermore, there is evidence of irregular financial movements between you and him related to his personal debts to a third party. See attached statement. We strongly advise you to review the source of the money you have lent him and the true financial situation of your fiancé. This information is provided to you anonymously for your protection. The decision of what to do with it is yours. A well-wisher. I did not sign it. I just hit send. The sound of the message leaving was like a sigh. Or a gunshot. Then I sat back and waited. I knew Brooke checked her personal email constantly, even at work. It would be a matter of minutes. The minutes passed. Slow as thick honey. I checked my phone. Nothing. I checked the anonymous email sent folder in case there was an error. No, it was sent. Then, 15 minutes later, my phone rang. It was the office landline. I stared at it, my heart pounding in my throat. I did not pick it up. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped. A minute later, Brooke's cell, which I had saved in my work contacts, started ringing. She did not pick up. She must have been at her desk seeing the email, reading the proof, connecting the dots. I imagined her face, that radiant face from this morning, contorted with confusion, then shock, then pain. I imagined her trembling fingers, looking for Michael's number, calling him. Him, probably in a meeting or maybe at his other apartment in Wicker Park, ignoring the call. The satisfaction was brief. Sour. It was not sweet revenge. It was acidic justice. But it was necessary. She had to know. She had to stop being his gullible victim. She had to become, like me, his enemy. My own phone vibrated. A message from Michael. Did you find the file, honey? I need it now. I smiled. A smile that did not reach my eyes. I typed a reply. Sorry, I felt sick. I had to go home. I could not look for it. Can you ask a colleague? His reply was immediate. Do not worry, I will figure it out. Hope you feel better. I love you. I love you. The 2 emptiest words in the language. I stared at them on the screen. Then I put the phone away. I was no longer his wife. I was his executioner. And the axe had just fallen. The silence in my house was absolute, but in my head, a clamor of sirens was blaring. I had pushed the button. Now I could only wait for the explosion. I sat on the couch, my phone in my hand, staring at the black screen as if I could see through it, to the office, to Brooke's desk. She would have read it by now. She would be crying, screaming, calling him. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. I let it ring. A minute later it vibrated again. The same number. Brooke, using a landline, maybe from reception. I did not answer. I let the anxiety corrode her, just as she had let her false happiness corrode me for months. Finally I dressed with care. A black pantsuit, low heels, light makeup, just enough to cover my pallor. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like the same old Kate, serious, competent. No one could guess that I had just dynamited the lives of 3 people, including my own. When I arrived at the office, the atmosphere was strange. A tense silence broken only by Eric's nervous typing. Lisa shot me a look of complicity and nodded toward Brooke's office. The door was closed. She has been in there for an hour, Lisa whispered, sidling over. She has not even come out to go to the bathroom. I knocked to ask her about some files, and she told me not to bother her in this really weird voice. Do you know anything? No, I lied, hanging up my coat. Maybe she is feeling sick. The first day of the week is usually tough. But it was not that. We all knew. Something had happened. I sat at my desk, turned on my computer. My professional email was full of routine messages. Nothing from the anonymous account, of course. I waited. Every minute was an eternity. At 10:30, her office door flew open. Brooke came out. She looked shattered. Her eyes were swollen and red, but she was not crying. Her expression was one of icy, concentrated rage. She was walking straight toward me. Everyone in the office looked up. The typing stopped. Kate, I need to talk to you. Now. Her voice was a taut threat on the verge of snapping. Of course, Brooke. What is wrong? I asked, maintaining my calm. I stood up. In the conference room. It was not a question, it was an order. She turned and headed for the small glass conference room at the back of the office. I followed, feeling the stares of my colleagues boring into our backs. She slammed the door shut. She turned to face me. In her trembling hand, she held a printed sheet. My anonymous email. The rental invoice. The bank statement. What is this? She spat, throwing the papers onto the conference table. They landed in front of me. I feigned confusion. I picked up the papers, looked at them. I made a face of puzzlement. I do not know. It looks like a rental agreement, some bank transactions. Where did you get this? Do not lie to me, she screamed, her self-control shattering. Her green eyes glittered with furious tears. It came to my personal email. This morning. Someone sent it to me. Someone who knows something. You know. You, Kate. Tell me. Brooke, calm down. I do not know what you are talking about. My voice was a pool of oil in her storm. What does this have to do with me? Everything. She took a step toward me, her chest heaving. It is Michael. It is my Michael. This is his contract. This is his apartment. He has an apartment? And this money, she pointed to the statement with a trembling finger. I gave him that money for his firm, and he is using it to pay this Anthony guy. Who is Anthony, Kate? Do you know? Michael? Your boyfriend? I asked, arching an eyebrow with a mixture of disbelief and concern. Brooke, this is very serious. It looks like he has been lying to you. No, she shouted, but it was a cry of desperation, not conviction. There has to be an explanation. Someone wants to hurt us. Someone is setting us up. Was it you? Her wild gaze locked onto mine, searching for a crack, a glimmer of guilt. I held her gaze without blinking. Me? Why would I do something like that? Brooke, I barely know you. And your boyfriend even less. I said the words with deliberate slowness. But these papers are very specific. A rental agreement in his name from 2 years ago. You have been with him for 3, right? Where did you two see each other before? In this apartment. She grew even paler. Cold, unstoppable logic was beginning to break through her hysteria. We met at his place, the house he shares with a roommate. The excuse sounded weak, even to her own ears. A roommate? In an apartment rented solely in his name. I pointed to the contract. Brooke, I am so sorry, but this does not look good. It seems your boyfriend has a life you do not know about. Shut up. She buried her face in her hands. A dry, harsh sob escaped her chest. I have to talk to him. He will explain it to me. He has to explain it. At that moment, her phone, which was on the table, began to vibrate. The screen lit up. Mike Redhart. She looked at it as if it were a snake. She hesitated. Then, with a brusque movement, she picked it up and declined the call. Why do you not answer? I asked softly. If he is innocent, he will give you an explanation now. Because I do not want to hear his lies over the phone, she yelled. And suddenly, her gaze filled with a painful, terrible clarity. She stared at me, scrutinizing my face, my posture, my coldness. Something clicked in her mind. Her expression changed. The rage gave way to a deep confusion, and then to a slow, horrifying understanding. You, she whispered. You asked me about him. About his trips, about the Onion, about the West Loop. You knew his name. You knew he hated Onion. How? How did you know, Kate? The air grew thick. Outside, through the glass, I could see the blurry figures of our colleagues, trying not to stare directly but hanging on every movement. It is a common name. And the Onion thing was a guess. A coincidence. My voice sounded flat even to me. No. It was not a coincidence. She slowly shook her head, taking a step back as if I were suddenly contagious. You have a husband. 10 years, you said. What is your husband's name, Kate? We looked at each other. In her eyes, the puzzle was beginning to fit together, forming a picture so monstrous her mind resisted accepting it. In mine there was nothing left to hide, only the cold, sharp truth. His name is Michael, I said without raising my voice. The silence was absolute. You could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. Brooke opened her mouth but no sound came out. Her face fell apart. The world, her perfect world as a bride-to-be, was shattering, revealing the mess upon which it was built. No, she managed in a thread of a voice. It cannot be. It is another Michael. An architect. Who hates Onion. Who loves the water according to you. Has a project in the West Loop. Travels to Miami and New York. I listed the points one by one like charges in a trial. He is thoughtful. He sends you flowers. He calls you on every break. He wears that cologne you like. He has a small scar here on his chin, from when he was a kid and fell off a bike. Each detail was a hammer blow. Brooke brought her hands to her mouth. A muffled moan escaped through her fingers. Her eyes, filled with a growing horror, never left mine. He is my husband, I repeated, and the words, spoken aloud for the first time, resonated with a final, atrocious truth. Michael Reynolds. My husband of 10 years. The man I live with. The man whose our apartment, is in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. Not in Wicker Park. That is the other one. Yours, is it not? Her scream was heartbreaking. She broke down, sobbing convulsively, doubling over at the waist as if her stomach ached. It is a lie. You are crazy. You are a jealous, obsessed. The conference room door flew open. Our boss Richard stood there scowling. Behind him the entire office was silent, listening to every word. What the hell is going on in here? Richard demanded, looking between the two of us. This is an office, not a marketplace. Brooke, Kate, I need an explanation. Now. But Brooke could not speak. She just cried, pointing at me with a trembling hand, unable to articulate the monstrosity. I straightened up. I took a deep breath. Richard, this is a very serious personal matter. Brooke is engaged to a man. I am married to that same man. She did not know until now. The words, spoken with icy clarity, fell into the office's silence like bombs. I heard the collective sound of a dozen people holding their breath. Glances went from my serene face to Brooke's, a wreck of tears. The scandal, pure and simple, was unfolding before everyone. Are you saying? Richard could not even finish. It was too sordid, too perfect for a daytime soap opera. That Michael Reynolds, my husband, has been carrying on a relationship with Brooke for 3 years, promising her marriage while living with me. And apparently also with financial problems that affect all of us. I stepped aside, gathered the papers from the table, and offered them to Richard. This arrived anonymously for Brooke this morning. It is a rental agreement in my husband's name and suspicious bank transactions. Richard took the papers, stunned. It was not his business, but now, in the middle of his office, it was everything. At that moment, we heard voices and rapid footsteps from the reception area. A figure burst into the office space, pushing past Eric, who was trying to stop him. It was Michael. Pale, disheveled, his tie crooked. He must have received 20 missed calls from Brooke and, not finding her at the Wicker Park apartment, assumed the worst. He came straight to the office. A catastrophic mistake. Brooke, he shouted, seeing her through the glass. Then his gaze fell on me, on Richard with the papers in his hand, on the entire office watching. He stopped dead in his tracks. His face lost its last bit of color. He was the picture of a man whose castle of lies was collapsing in slow motion before an audience. Michael, I said, and my voice rang out clear and cold in the silent room. Just in time. We were just talking about you. About your 2 lives. And your money. Do you want to explain to your fiancé and my boss who Anthony Hayes is and why you are paying him with the money she lent you? All hell broke loose. The silence that followed my question was absolute, broken only by Brooke's ragged sobs. The entire office was a tableau of shock. Michael stood planted in the middle of the aisle like a deer in headlights. His eyes, darting from me to Brooke to Richard with the papers, were 2 pools of pure panic. What? What are you saying, Kate? He managed to articulate, but his voice was a thin, ridiculous thread. His look was pleading, but no longer to me as his wife, but to an executioner begging for mercy. I am saying the truth. All of it. I took a step toward him, out of the conference room, dragging everyone's attention with me. There was no going back, no privacy. This war would be public. For 3 years, she has been your fiancée. I have been your wife. Which one is more real, Michael? The one with my ring, or the one with her rental agreement? Brooke screamed, a guttural sound of pain and rage, and lunged toward him in her distress. Not to hug him but to confront him. Her hands pushed at his chest, his shoulders. Liar. You crossed every line. 3 years. My money. Who is she? Who is she? She shrieked between sobs. Michael tried to hold her, grabbing her wrists, looking around for an escape that did not exist. Brooke, stop. Listen. I can explain. It is not what it looks like. It is not what it looks like? My laugh was as sharp as broken glass in the silence. What does it look like, Michael? It looks like you have 2 women. It looks like you lied to both of us. It looks like you live off of us. That is what it looks like. Richard intervened, stepping between them with his boss's authority, now also that of a forced mediator. His face was livid with discomfort. Enough. All 3 of you in my office. Now. And the rest of you get back to work. His shout dispersed the onlookers, who returned to their desks, feigning an impossible concentration. He gestured brusquely for the three of us to go to his door. Michael, his shirt wrinkled, his tie even more askew, let himself be led. Brooke, trembling from head to toe, shot me a look of pure hatred before following Richard. I was the last to enter. I closed the office door behind us. The click of the lock, isolating our personal hell, was almost a relief. Richard's office was large, with a view of the river. A place of power. Now it looked like a cheap boxing ring. "Sit down," Richard ordered, moving behind his desk as if it were a barricade. None of us sat. Brooke leaned against the wall, crying silently. Michael stood staring at the floor. I remained in the center, standing tall. "This is unimaginable," Richard began, rubbing his eyes. "A personal and professional disaster. It is contaminating the entire office. I cannot and will not get into the details of your private life. But this has exploded here. What do you propose?" "She should leave," Brooke spat, pointing an accusing finger at me. "She is crazy obsessed. This is harassment." Me. My voice did not rise, but the weight of contempt in it made even Richard flinch. I am the one who has been living with a married man for 3 years? Ask him, Brooke. Ask him if the ring on my finger is fake. Ask him where he slept on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. He said he was working late. Michael looked up. His gaze was that of a cornered animal. "Kate, please, can we talk about this at home?" "Not here. We do not have a home," I cut in sharply. "And there is nothing left to talk about. There are only facts. Richard, I apologize for the spectacle, but the person who brought his double life, his lies and his financial problems into this place is him." I pointed to Michael. Through her, I pointed to Brooke. I am the victim who has uncovered the mess. Nothing more. Victim? You sent me that email. You blew this all up. Brooke screamed. An email with proof. Was it fake? I asked, turning to Michael. Is the rental agreement fake, Michael? Are the transfers fake? Is Anthony Hayes fake? The name spoken aloud made Michael flinch as if he had been whipped. Who is Anthony Hayes? Richard asked, exhausted. A person he owes money to, I said, before Michael could invent another lie. My husband owes him money, a lot of money it seems, and he has been using Brooke's savings and our joint money to pay him, financing his lie with more lies. Brooke stopped crying. The horror froze on her face. Your money? Our joint money. The financial scam became clear, adding to the emotional one. She was not just the other woman. She was the fool who was also being taken advantage of. Is that true? She whispered, looking at Michael. He could not hold her gaze. He lowered his head. That gesture, that silent admission, was the final blow for her. All the air seemed to leave her body. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, hugging her knees, staring into space. There were no more tears. Just an infinite void. Look, Richard sighed. This is untenable. I cannot have 2 employees in this situation, and I certainly cannot allow this to continue poisoning the atmosphere. Kate, Brooke, I suggest you both take an immediate paid leave of absence for 1 month to sort out your personal affairs. Away from here. No, I said firmly. I have done nothing wrong. I am not going to be punished. I am requesting a transfer to the Los Angeles Projects Department. There is a vacancy. Either you grant it, or I submit my resignation and take my case to an employment lawyer for a hostile work environment. You decide. Richard looked at me, weighing his options. I was a valuable senior employee. The scandal was huge, but technically I had not created the conflict, only revealed it. And now I had the knife of the law at his throat. All right, he conceded with annoyance. Transfer to Los Angeles. Effective next week. Brooke, leave of absence. 1 month. We will see after that. Brooke did not respond. She just kept sitting on the floor. And me. Michael's voice was rough. He seemed to have forgotten he did not work there, that he was just the ghost who had caused the disaster. Richard looked at him with a mixture of contempt and pity. You, Mr. Reynolds, are going to get out of my office right now. And I suggest you never set foot in this building again. If there are legal or financial matters, they will be resolved elsewhere. And if you have any common sense, you will hire a lawyer. Good afternoon. The dismissal was as blunt as it was final, Michael opened his mouth to say something, looked at Brooke, then at me. In my eyes he found nothing. Only a wall. He turned on his heel and walked out of the office. We heard him cross the office in silence and disappear. "Get out," Richard ordered without looking at us. "Pack your things and go. For today." I helped Brooke to her feet. She was limp like a doll. Touching her, I felt a shiver. It was not hatred anymore. It was a strange communion in disaster. We were both ruins, though mine were more orderly. I gathered my things in silence, under the furtive gazes of everyone. My desk was next to Brooke's. She mechanically put her framed photo into a drawer. The photo from the Florida Keys. Then she took the small silver sailboat she wore around her neck, looked at it, and with a sharp tug pulled the chain until it broke. She left it on the desk, a small pile of worthless metal. Without a word to each other, we left together in the elevator. The ride was silent, suffocating. When we reached the street, the cold afternoon air hit us. She wrapped her coat around herself. "You knew? You knew the whole time?" she asked without looking at me. Her voice was hoarse, worn out. "Since the first day back from vacation, when I saw his picture on your desk." She closed her eyes as if a new wave of dizziness hit her. "And you invited me to lunch. You asked me about him. It was all an investigation." "Yes." "The anonymous email, that was you." "Yes." She finally looked at me. In her green eyes, the pain had given way to something more lucid and dangerous. A cold, calculating rage like mine. "What are you going to do now?" she asked. "Go home. Pack my things. See a lawyer tomorrow. And make sure he does not get a single dollar that is not his. Not mine. And not yours." She nodded slowly. "And not yours." That had sunk in. "Anthony Hayes," she said, the name tasting like poison. "Who is he?" "I do not know. But you have the statement. You have his transfers. That is your proof. If you want to get your money back, you are going to need it. And a lawyer." "I do not have money for a lawyer," she whispered bitterly. "Ask your sister. Or your parents. Tell them the truth. All of it." I paused. "Or do what I did. Wait, investigate, and then hit him where it hurts the most." She studied me as if seeing me for the first time. Not as the betrayed wife, but as a strategist. "And him? What will he do now?" "He will try to save what he can. First, he will try to talk to me, to soften the blow so I do not ruin him financially. Then he will try to talk to you to explain himself so you do not sue him for the money. He will say he is sorry, that it was a mistake, that he loves us both in different ways." My voice was flat, as if I were reading from a script already written. "And you will believe him?" "No," she nodded again. Then she turned and started walking in the opposite direction, without saying goodbye. After a few steps she stopped. She did not turn around. "Hey, Kate." "Yes. That day, the day you almost invited me to dinner with us at those charming spots, did you already know they were your spots?" "Yes." She took a deep breath. Her back tensed. "Some life," she muttered and kept walking, disappearing into the rush hour crowd. I went home. Our home. Michael was already there, sitting in the dark living room. He had taken off his jacket and tie. He had a glass of whiskey in his hand, almost empty. "Kate," he said when he saw me enter. His voice was pleading. "No. Not a word." I walked past him, went straight upstairs to our bedroom. I pulled a large suitcase from the closet. I started filling it. Clothes, shoes, toiletries. My things. Only my things. I was methodical, quick. He appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching me. He looked like he had aged 10 years in one afternoon. "Please, can we talk? I can explain everything." "What are you going to explain, Michael? The timeline of your lies? The exact amount you owe that Anthony guy? Or how you plan to marry her without divorcing me?" I did not stop packing. "I was not going to marry her," he burst out. It was a fantasy, an escape. You and I, we had become routine. She was different, fun. She did not pressure me. I turned to him slowly. The rage that had been contained all day began to boil. A 3-year fantasy? An escape with a rental agreement and wedding plans? And my money paying for that fantasy? And her money paying your debts? You are pathetic, Michael. A liar and someone who took advantage. I am in trouble, he shouted desperately. Anthony is not just any person. He is tough. I made some bad business deals, bad investments, and I am drowning. Her money was to calm him down, to buy time. I swear, I never wanted to hurt either of you. There it was. The ugly, sordid truth beneath the romantic betrayal. He was not some smooth operator. He was a weak man in a hole, using the women around him as life rafts. Well, now you are going to have to drown alone, I said, slamming the suitcase shut. Tomorrow I am coming with a locksmith to change the locks, and with my lawyer. You are going to sign a separation agreement. You will give up your half of the apartment. You will return my share of all the joint savings you have touched. And you will deal with your debt to your friend Anthony. If you do not, I will not just take you to family court, I will take all these papers to the financial authorities. Let us see what they have to say about your fake consulting services. His face fell. For him, financial fear was more terrifying than emotional fear. You cannot just leave me like this. This is my house too. Not anymore. I grabbed the suitcase and walked past him, shoving him with my shoulder. And if you want to prevent Anthony Hayes from finding out that your wife has all the proof of his transactions, I suggest you start being very cooperative. I went downstairs. He followed me, babbling, begging, then threatening in a last gasp. I did not listen. I went out to the street, put the suitcase in the trunk and got in the car. I did not look back. I drove to a small, discreet hotel near Union Station. I paid for a week. I went up to my room, left the suitcase on the floor. I stood in the middle of the anonymous room, the city lights flickering on the other side of the window. And then for the first time since I saw that photo on Brooke's desk, I let myself fall. Not onto the bed. Onto the floor. And I cried. I cried with a dry, harsh sound that tore at my throat. I cried for the 10 lost years, for the woman I had become. Cold, calculating, determined. I cried for the Kate who had believed in that man, and who had died that morning in the office. Justice was not sweet. It was ash in my mouth. But it was mine. And it was all I had left. The next day at 9 o'clock sharp, I knocked on the door of a family law firm on Michigan Avenue. The real war was beginning. The war of papers, of money. The only one that mattered in the end. 6 months do not heal anything. They just put a scab over the wound, one thin enough that if you bump it in the same place it bleeds again. But at least it no longer hurts just to breathe. The divorce was in its final stages. The phrase uncontested divorce had always seemed like a cruel joke to me, but after my lawyer showed Michael the bank statements, the proof of the transfers to Anthony Hayes, and the veiled threat of a financial investigation, his consent was swift and submissive. He gave up his share of the apartment in exchange for me not claiming half of his firm, which was mortgaged to the hilt anyway. I signed. I wanted a clean break, even if it meant taking on the mortgage by myself. The apartment was mine. Mine alone. The shell of a life that no longer existed. But it was a shell in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. I would rent it out. I was moving to Los Angeles in a month, when the company transfer became effective. Chicago in March was playing games. A pale sun fought against a wind that still smelled of winter. I was leaving the notary's office, where I had signed another pile of papers certifying the legal end of my marriage. I was wearing a light coat, jeans. I was in no hurry. I had no one to get back to. The luxury of solitude, I was learning, was also its curse. I went into a cafe near Michigan Avenue, one of those with marble tables and wooden chairs that have seen half a century pass. I ordered a latte. I sat by the window, leaving the pile of documents on the chair next to me. I watched people pass by, absorbed in their intact lives. Then I saw her. Brooke was pushing open the door. She was alone. She wore a belted trench coat, her hair longer, pulled back in a messy bun. She looked older. Not in years but in experience. The brightness from before, that naive faith, was gone. In its place was a weary seriousness. She saw me instantly. Our eyes met across the room. There was no avoiding it. She hesitated. For a second I thought she would turn around and leave, but she did not. She took a breath, straightened her shoulders slightly, and walked over to my table. "Kate," she said, her voice neutral. "Brooke." May I? She gestured to the empty chair. Of course. She sat down, put her bag on the floor. An awkward silence settled between us, filled with the noise of the coffee machine and other people's conversations. How are you? She finally asked, not looking at me, unfolding a paper napkin. Surviving. And you? More or less the same. She paused. I went back to the office last week. It is weird. But it is a job. I am glad. And it was true in a way. Richard must have considered a 1-month leave of absence to be sufficient penance. Or maybe he felt sorry for her. The waiter brought my latte. Brooke ordered a tea. Another silence. I heard you are moving to Los Angeles, she said after the waiter left. Yes. The transfer is confirmed. Early April. It will be good for you. A fresh start. Her tone was not envious. It was a statement of fact. She was staying here, in the city that would remind her of everything. I do not know if it will be good, but it will be different. I took a sip of coffee. It was hot bitter. And what are you going to do? She shrugged, looking at her cup. Carry on. My sister Natalie has taken me in at her apartment for a while, until I get back on my feet. Financially, I mean. The other stuff we will see. And the money? I asked, lowering my voice. I did not need to specify. A flash of the old anger crossed her eyes, but it quickly faded. My dad went to see him with a lawyer. I will not get the $5,000 back. But he signed a paper acknowledging the debt. He says he will pay me back when he can. She let out a dry, humorless laugh. When he can. He says he is working freelance now, that he was not welcome at his old firm anymore. I was not surprised. The architecture world in Chicago is not that big. Gossip, especially juicy gossip, travels fast. A partner leading a double life, with debt problems and a scandal at a design office. It is not a good look. I am sorry, I said. And that was true too. For the money, for the humiliation. No, you are not. She looked at me directly for the first time. Her green eyes were clear, cold. Not completely. And I do not blame you. In your place, I would not be either. We were both stupid. But at least you did something. I did something dirty. Yes. But it was effective. She took a sip of tea. Sometimes I think about that email. About how I must have looked. About how you must have watched me fall apart. It must have been satisfying. I shook my head. It was necessary. But not satisfying. Watching someone get destroyed, even if it is the person involved in the inappropriate relationship with your husband, is not pleasant. It is just disgusting. Disgusting for everyone. For him, for the situation, for myself. She nodded slowly, as if my words confirmed something she already thought. At first, I only hated you. It was easier. He was the love of my life. You were the evil one, the bitter wife who destroyed everything. Her lips formed a wry smile. How naive. Then, when I accepted that he was just a coward with money problems, the hatred shifted. But it is a kind of hatred that is tiring. Exhausting. I know. Have you seen him again? She asked with genuine curiosity. Once. To sign the agreement about the apartment. At my lawyer's office. He barely said anything. He seemed smaller, shrunken, as if all the lies he had told had stolen his height. I remembered his downcast figure, signing papers without looking up. I no longer felt rage, just a faint contempt, like for an annoying insect that has finally gone away. He called me, Brooke confessed. A month ago. He wanted to meet up to explain, he said. To truly apologize. I hung up and then blocked his number. She paused. Natalie says she sees him around the Wicker Park neighborhood sometimes. Thinner, drinking too much coffee at the same bar, as if he is waiting for me to walk by. Do not walk by, I said, and my tone was sharper than I intended. I am not planning to. She took another sip of tea. Then she fiddled with the tag on the tea bag. Hey Kate. That time in the cafe when you asked me about the charming spots, why did you do it? Just to confirm your suspicions? Or was there something more? I looked at her. Was there something more? A perverse desire to see her happiness up close? To touch the poison? Or a tiny last hope that I was wrong? To see if you were happy, I finally said honestly. To see if that happiness was real. And was it? Yes. That is what hurt the most. That it was not a sham for him. With you in that moment he was happy. That made me realize that he had not been happy with me for a long time, and that my marriage had been the sham for years. She looked down, nodded. Well, I was happy too. Stupidly, blindly happy. No one can take that away from me. Even if I now know it was built on. She stood up. Well, I have to go. I have an appointment with the company psychologist. Part of my reintegration. The sarcasm in her voice was faint, but it was there. Take care, Brooke. She hesitated for a second. Then she said, you too. And good luck in Los Angeles. There was no hug, no kiss on the cheek, not even a handshake. Just a brief, almost imperceptible nod. Two ships that, after colliding and partially sinking, managed to separate and continue on their way, each with its own leaks. She turned and walked out onto the street, blending into the crowd. I stayed a while longer, finishing my now cold coffee. The pile of papers on the chair next to me was a reminder that a chapter had officially ended. I looked out the window. The March sun was breaking through the clouds, bathing the street in a cold golden light. The light of afternoons that are starting to get longer, but when you still need a coat. My phone rang. A Los Angeles number. I answered. Kate Morgan. A professional, female voice with a soft California accent. Yes, this is she. Hi. This is Jennifer from Vortex Graphic Studio. We received your resume and portfolio for the art director position. We loved it, especially the Bristol project. We would like to schedule an interview for next week. If that works for you, are you available to come to Los Angeles? I looked out the window. People were passing by. Life went on. It was not a new love, it was not a great epiphany. It was a job, an opportunity, a line pulling me forward. Yes, I said, and I noticed a small real smile forming on my lips for the first time in a long time. Yes, I have all the availability in the world. Tell me when. Did you enjoy this story? Leave a comment and hit the subscribe button to support the channel. More tales are on the way.